Introduction of the Book of Zohar, article The Donkey Driver, item 74. Rabbi Elazar went to see Rabbi Yossi, son of Rabbi Shimon, son of Lakonia, his father-in-law, and Rabbi Abba was with him. A man was driving their donkeys, meaning leading their donkeys. Rabbi Abba said, the way of the donkey driver is to sting the donkeys so they are prompted to go. Rabbi Abba said, let us open the doors of Torah, for now is the time and the hour for our ways to be corrected.
75.
פתח רבי אלעזר ואמר
75. Rabbi Elazar started and said, you shall keep my Sabbaths. Come and see. The Creator created the world in 6 days. Each day he disclosed his deed and placed his strength in that day. When did he disclose his deed and place his strength? On the 4th day. Since those first 3 days were all hidden and not revealed. When the 4th day came, he executed the power of all of them. In that day refers to the Sabbath. The 6 days are Chagat Nehi, and they reveal the perfection of their works and power on the Sabbath day in Malchut. Each day he places his strength in the Sabbath day. And why does it say here that it was only on the 4th day? It's because Malchut is called 4th and 7th. A 4th to the patriarchs, Chagat, and a 7th to the sons, Nehi. It is written, the flower buds have appeared in the earth, and the time of pruning has arrived. The flower buds, Chagat, appeared in the earth on the 3rd day, and the time of pruning has arrived on the 4th day. Since then, Malchut was diminished and rose for a second Ibul. Thus the Malchut was emanated from Chagat on the 3rd day and was corrected on the 4th day through Netzach of Zanpin, which is the 4th day. Hence, in that regard, she is considered a 4th to the patriarchs. It is also written, and the voice of the turtle dove is heard in our land. In our land is the Sabbath day, which is a sample of the land of the living. Thus, Malchut, which is called earth, is the Sabbath day, a 7th to the sons, and the matter of 4th and 7th is explained here. It was said that those first 3 days were all concealed and were not revealed, because as long as the degree is deficient of Malchut, it is regarded as hidden and unknown. Upon its attainment of Malchut, it obtains its perfection. This is the meaning of the 6 days of work and the Sabbath. It would seem as though the 6 works days should be more important than the Sabbath, since Chagat Nehi, which are the 6 days of work, are more important than the Malchut, the Sabbath day. However, each week is a separate degree which during the work days lacks the Malchut. Hence the degree is hidden and there is no holiness in it. Since the absence of Malchut, Gar of lights are absent, and only upon the appearance of Malchut in the degree, at the arrival of the Sabbath day, the holiness appears in the entire degree, during the 6 days of work as well. And holiness is present in the entire week. Similarly, in the 6 days of creation, when the first 3 days were emanated, Chagat, prior to the disclosure of Malchut, they were hidden, without disclosing the Kedusha in them. And when Malchut was emanated on the 4th day, the holiness of all 4 days was revealed. When the 4th day came, it executed the power of all of them, meaning that the Kedusha appeared in the work and in the potential of all 4 days, since Malchut complements the degree.
76. Fire, water, and wind are Chagat, the first 3 days. Even though they are 3 superior Yesodot, the 3 Sfirot Chagat, they were all reliant, and the complete work was not disclosed before the earth, Malchut, disclosed them. Then the work of each of them was known. 77. But it is written on the 3rd day, let the earth spring forth grass, and the earth brought forth grass. Was the disclosure of the work of the earth, Malchut, not on the 3rd day? Indeed, even though it is written on the 3rd day, Tiferet, it was the 4th day, Malchut. It was included in the 3rd day, since Tiferet and Malchut are one without separation. Afterwards, the 4th day disclosed its work of bringing out the craftsman to the work of each of the Chagat, since the 4th day is the 4th leg of the throne, Binah, whose 4 legs are Chagat and Malchut. This is so because since Malchut discloses the holiness of the 3 days, she rose and was mingled in the 3rd day to disclose the unification upon them, since Tiferet and Malchut are one without separation. Afterwards, the 4th day disclosed its work of bringing out the craftsman to his work of each of the Chagat. This is so because on the 4th day, Malchut compensated for only the first 3 days, and afterwards 3 more days came out, Nehi. This is so because once the Kedusha appeared over the first 3 days, Chagat, the patriarchs, the essence of Zeranpin, who is the craftsman, went out to his work, and the sons, Nehi, were emanated, the last 3 days of the 6 days of creation. This is so because the 4th day is the 4th leg of the upper throne, Binah, and Zeranpin is considered a throne to Binah. And as the chair is not completed before the 4th leg is completed in it, Zeranpin too is not completed before the Malchut appears in it on the 4th day. and he could emanate the 3 days Nehi only after its completion.
78. All the actions of the first 3 days, Chagat, and the last 3 days, Nehi, depended upon the Sabbath day, Malchut, with respect to the Gar and its completion. It is written about it, and on the seventh day God completed his work. Sabbath is the fourth leg of the throne. Sabbath is the fourth day, and the fourth day are both considered Malchut. However, the fourth day is also the Malchut that is included in Zeranpin, in his Tiferet from the Chazeh and above. And the Sabbath day is Malchut in a coupling with Zeranpin face to face. And even though the first 3 days were completed on the fourth day, they were still not entirely completed in it and were dependent until the Sabbath. It follows that on the Sabbath, they were completed between the first days, Chagat, and the last days, Nehi. As it is written, and on the seventh day God completed his work which he had done. All 6 days, including the first 3 days. This is the Sabbath, and this is the fourth leg of the throne. The seventh day is the Sabbath, a seventh to the sons. It is also the fourth leg of the throne, which complements to the patriarchs too, and the Sabbath is their fourth. The reason why the 3 days Chagat were not sufficiently corrected on the fourth day, but need the Sabbath day to complement them, is that on the fourth day there was a diminution in Malchut, called the diminution of the moon. Because of it, she returned for a second Ibul, impregnation, and her completeness was revealed on the Sabbath day. It follows that the Sabbath day complemented the first 3 days as well. 78 again or 79?
Well, 79. Okay.
79. If Sabbath is the Malchut, why does it say, "You shall keep my Sabbaths," which are 2? The Sabbath of the eve of Sabbath is Malchut, and the Sabbath of the actual day of Sabbath is Zeranpin, who shines in Sabbath, which is Malchut. They are not separated because they are united face to face and are called 2 Sabbaths. If, according to the first view, the 2 Malchuts, fourth and seventh, are whole in themselves, it is very clear that the words "my Sabbaths," fourth and seventh, are 2. But if it is not completed on the fourth, but only after it is included in the seventh, then they are only 1 Sabbath. And why does the text say "my Sabbaths" 2? It refers to the zon that illuminate in the holiness of the Sabbath. Since the Sabbath day is the male, and the eve of Sabbath is the female. And there are two Sabbaths included in my Sabbaths, since they are actually one without separation. This is why Zaranpin is called Sabbath too. 80. That donkey driver who was leading the donkeys behind them said, "And why is it written, 'And fear my sanctuary'?" He replied to him, "This is the holiness of the Sabbath." He told him, "And what is the holiness of the Sabbath?" He replied to him, "It is Kedusha, holiness, extended from above, from Abba Ve'ima." He told him, "Then how did you make the Sabbath, who is not holy in itself, but Kedusha lies on it from above, from Abba Ve'ima?" Rabbi Abba said, "So it is, for it is written, 'And call the Sabbath a delight, and the sanctification of the Lord honorable.' Thus, the Sabbath is mentioned separately, and the sanctification of the Creator is separate." He told him, "Then who is the sanctification of the Creator?" He replied to him, "It is the Kedusha that descends from above, from Abba Ve'ima, and hovers over the Sabbath." The donkey driver told him that if Kedusha, that is extended from above, is called honorable, does it imply that the Sabbath itself is not honorable? But it is written, "And honor it." So, is the Sabbath itself honorable? Rabbi Elazar said to Rabbi Abba, "Leave that man, for there is a word of wisdom in him, which we do not know." They told him, "You tell it." Commentary. He asked him, "And what is the meaning of what is written, 'And fear my sanctuary'?" Because the Sabbath is considered Zon, why are they called my sanctuary? It is because only Abba Ve'ima are called holy. This is why he told him, thus, the Sabbath is mentioned separately, and the sanctification of the Creator is separate. By that, he proved to him that the Sabbath itself is considered Zon, that she is not holiness in herself, but because Kedusha, holiness, is extended to her from above, from upper Abba Ve'ima, who are called holiness, and an extension from Abba Ve'ima is called sanctifying the Creator, of whom it was said, and the sanctification of the Creator, of the Lord, honorable. 81. My Sabbaths. It of comes to include the Sabbath zone, 2,000 cubits to each side. This is why he added the word et, Aleph Tav, first letter and the last letter in the Hebrew alphabet. My Sabbaths is in plural form, the upper Sabbath and the lower Sabbath. The two are included together and concealed together. Et of comes to include the Sabbath zone. Since even though it is written, "Let no man go out of his place on the seventh day," the text added 2,000 outside his place to each direction in the word et. Also, et is the malchut, from whose coupling come forth the mochin of Abba Ve'ima, which shine in the Sabbath in the addition of illumination of the zon. This is so because Abba Ve'ima are 2,000, for which the text adds it, which comes to add to it. My Sabbaths refer to the upper Sabbath and the lower Sabbath. The upper Sabbath is Tvuna, and the lower Sabbath is Malchut, Nukva of Zeranpin, who are called Ma and Mi, the upper world and the lower world, included together. This is so because on Sabbath, Zon rise and clothe Abba Ve'ima. Tvuna and Malchut are included in one another together because the lower one that rises to the upper one becomes like him, and they are concealed together. For this reason, Malchut does not become actual Tvuna without recognition between them, because the Mochin of Tvuna are received by Malchut only above, at the place of Tvuna. But in Malchut's own place, below, she does not have these Mochin. In that sense, Malchut is still considered hidden. Also, Tvuna suffers from Malchut's blocking, for because their Mochin are included together, they are also blocked together. It follows that even though Tvuna herself is not under any blocking, since now on Sabbath she is one Partzuf with upper Ima, but because the Mochin do not shine in one inclusion in Malchut's Mochin, Malchut's blocking is sensed in the Mochin of Tvuna as well.
So we're continuing in item 82. Another Sabbath remained who was not mentioned. She was in shame, and she said before him, O Lord, since the day you have made me, I have been called Sabbath, and there is no day without a night. He told her, my daughter, you are Sabbath, and I have called you Sabbath. But behold, I am crowning you with the highest crown. He passed on a manifest, saying, Fear my sanctuary. This is the Sabbath of the eve of Sabbath, who is fear, and in whom there is fear, which the Creator mingled together and said, I am the Lord, where I is the Malchut, the eve of Sabbath. The Lord is Zeranpin, and in the words, I am the Lord, they were mingled together. And I heard from my father, who said so, and made the precision that the word et includes the Sabbath zone. My Sabbaths in plural form, and the circle and square within it, which are two Sabbaths. And opposite those two, there are two sanctities that we should mention. One is, thus the heavens and the earth were completed. And one is the Kiddush. There are 35 words in the blessing, thus the heavens, and the 35 words in the Kiddush that we sanctify. Altogether, they add up to 70 names, in which the Creator and the assembly of Israel are crowned. 83. And because those circle and square are my Sabbaths, both are included in the keep. As it is written, keep my Sabbaths. But the upper Sabbath is not included in the keep, but in the remember. Since the upper king, Bina, was completed in the remember. This is why Bina is called a king that peace is his, since this peace is remember. Hence, there is no dispute above. Commentary. Another Sabbath remained, which was not mentioned. This is Malchut of Malchut, called middle point, and which does not receive Mochin during the Sabbath day as well, since she is the lock itself. And all the Mochin come only in the key, Yesod of Malchut. And since she did not receive Mochin, she was in shame. Another Sabbath remained, who was not mentioned, is the middle point, who did not receive Mochin and was in shame. She argued, since the day you have made me, in the beginning of my emanation in the world of Ak, I have been called Sabbath. All the Mochin were imparted by me, because there was no other Malchut in Ak, but only the middle point, which was diminished only during the second restriction to the world of Atzilut. She also argued, there is no day without a night. This is very beautiful, because she argued that even on the first day, it is written, and there was evening and there was morning, one day. Meaning that the unity appears over day and night together. Thus, was a night not mentioned on the Sabbath of Bereshit. It is so because no night is written on the seventh day of the act of creation, and the Creator told her, you are a Sabbath for the future, in the seventh millennium, on a day that is all Sabbath. I have called you Sabbath since the day I made you in the world Ak. But behold, I am crowning you with the highest crown. In other words, the Creator raised her so she would serve in the Gal of the Parzufim. For she was established as Malchut of Upper Abavima, unknown Avir. Upper Abavima are called the Holy of Holies. She too is in the upper holiness. And it was said that he passed on a manifest, saying, fear my sanctuaries, since through her correction in Upper Abavima she became a sanctuary, which is, fear my sanctuaries. It follows that now Malchut has gained the upper crown, more than she has had in the world Ak, since there she was using the siyum of the Sfirot in her stead, and now she rose to serve in the place of Gal, in Upper Abavima, who are called Holy of Holies. This is why it was said, Behold, I am crowning you with the highest crown. In other words, the Creator raised her so she would operate in the Gal of the Parzufim. For she was established as Malchut of upper Abba Ve'ima, unknown Avil. Upper Abba Ve'ima are called the Holy of Holies. She too is in the upper holiness, which is why he passed a manifest and said, "Fear my temple," since through her correction in upper Abba Ve'ima, she became a temple. As was said, "Fear my temple." It follows that now Malchut has gained the upper crown, more than she has had in the world of Ak, since there she was using the siyum of the Sfirot in her stead. And now she rose to serve in the place of Gal, in upper Abba Ve'ima, who are called Holy of Holies. This is why it was said, "Behold, I am crowning you with the highest crown." This is the Sabbath of the Eve of Sabbath, who is fear, and in whom there is fear. Malchut is called fear because there was a restriction on her to not receive into her own quality. Thus, she does not use the direct light from above downward into her own essence, but only the reflected light when she is corrected with a screen, with a tremor and a shudder, so the light will not traverse from the screen down. Now upon her ascent to the upper holiness of Abba Ve'ima, there is upper fear in her, since the upper Havaya of Abba Ve'ima is in her. This is the eve of the Sabbath day that was now erected. As she argued, there is no day without a night. And this is the Sabbath of the eve of Sabbath. The quality of night has also been included in the Sabbath day. And the fear that is in it is that the Creator included together and said, "I am the Lord," since the upper Havaya of Abba Ve'ima is included in her, and said, "I am the Lord." To interpret that, Rabbi Elazar brings the words that he heard from his father. The image of the circle indicates that the light shines there equally in all the places, and there is no din there at all for which any change should occur in the measure of illumination. The image of the square indicates that there are dinim there, for which one should distinguish between right and left, east and west. Hence, the Rosh is regarded as being shaped as a circle with respect to the body, which is a square, since there are no dinim in Gal, Rosh, and there are dinim in the Guf, for which there are right and left in the Guf, face and back. The Sabbath is that the Zon rise and clothe Abba Ve'ima, who are considered upper Sabbath and lower Sabbath, mingled together. The upper Sabbath, Abba Ve'ima, are considered a circle, and the lower Sabbath, Zon, Guf, are regarded as a square. Hence, on Sabbath, the Zon in the square rise and mingle with Abba Ve'ima, who are in a circle. This is why it is written, my Sabbaths, to include two Sabbaths, upper Sabbath, a circle, with a square within it, and the lower Sabbath, which rose and mingled with it. Thus the Mochin of Chokhmah are called 70 names, or 70 crowns, since Ayin implies Chokhmah. And since those Mochin appear only through the ascent of the lower Sabbath to the upper one, the Mochin divide over both, half of them for the upper Sabbath and half of them for the lower Sabbath. Hence in the blessing and completed, there are 35 words, which are half the Mochin that are on the upper Sabbath, and in the Kiddush there are 35 words as well, implying to half the Mochin on the lower Sabbath. These are the Mochin in which the assembly of Israel, Malchut, the Sabbath, is crowned. And since the circle and the square are mingled together in my Sabbaths, the Mochin of the circle are also discerned as keep, like the square. Although keep indicates din, and a boundary from which one should keep, on the upper Sabbath, which is a circle, there is no din. Still, out of its mingling together with the Sabbath of a square, there is also the matter of keep in them. The upper Sabbath itself is included in the remember, not in the keep. Since the upper king, Bina, was complemented in the remember, and there is no din in it at all, of which it will be fitting to say keep, since there is keeping only in the nukva. However, with respect to the upper Sabbath being included in the lower Sabbath, there is keeping in both of them together, but not in the upper Sabbath itself. And peace is his, is remember. Hence there is no dispute above, since the upper king, Bina, me, who was completed in the letter Yud, is male kelim, indicating that there is no dispute there at all, without din. This is why it is called a circle. But the lower Sabbath, Ma, was completed in the letter He. Hence there is dispute in her, right and left. This is why it is called a square. Item 84. There are two kinds of peace below. One is Jacob, Tiferet, and one is Joseph, Yesod. This is why it is written peace twice. Peace, peace to him who is far and to him who is near. To him who is far is Jacob, and to him who is near is Joseph. To him who is far is as it is written, the Lord appeared to me from afar, and also his sister stood from afar. To him who is near, it is written, new who came lately. There are two kinds of peace below, in Zon. Jacob is Tiferet, and Joseph is Yesod. This implies to the couplings in Zon, since peace is coupling. For there is an upper coupling in it for extension of the level of Chokhmah, and there is a lower coupling in it for extension of Chasadim. The upper one is Jacob, and the lower one is Joseph. And since Zat cannot receive the level of Chokhmah without Chasadim, the level of Chokhmah in Zon is far from them, since they can receive it only by clothing in Chasadim. Also it is written, the Lord appeared to me from afar. Since the level of Chokhmah is far from him and he needs clothing to receive it. Hence, Jacob's peace is called far. And the lower coupling and Joseph's peace is called near, for it is received without clothing. Moreover, through his level of Chasadim, he can receive Chokhmah as well. The two kinds of peace, Jacob's and Joseph's, which always apply in Zon's coupling of Gadlut, are considered a square. Thus there is a dispute in them, and they end in the letter He, the Nukva. But the upper king, Bina, me, end in the letter Yud, male. And there is no dispute in them. Even the matter of far and near do not apply in Bina herself, since she is considered Gar, and Gar can receive Chokhmah in the near, meaning they do not need the clothing of Chasadim at all, and receive Chokhmah without Chasadim. Also, there aren't two kinds of peace in the upper king as there are in Zon, since he is a king that peace is his. 85. From afar is the highest point that stands in his palace. It is written about this one, keep, and it is included in the keep. And fear my temple is the point that stands in the middle, which should be feared most, for her punishment is death. It is written, they who profane it shall surely be put to death. They who profane it means those who enter the space of the circle and the square to the place where that point is present and blemishes it shall surely be put to death. It is written about this one, fear, and the middle point is called I, and there is that upper hidden one over her, who is undisclosed, Havaya, and I and Havaya are all one.
Rabbi Elazar
Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Abba came down from their donkeys and kissed the donkey driver. They said, "What is all that wisdom that is under your hand while you are driving our donkeys? Who are you?" He told them, "Ask not who I am, but I and you shall walk and engage in Torah, and each shall say words of wisdom to illuminate the way." From afar is the highest point in his palace, the key, from which the Chokhmah of the 32 paths pours out. The point in his palace is the letter Bet in Bereshit, from which the level of Chokhmah pours out to Zon, when Zon rise and clothe the upper Abba Ve'ima. For then the two Sabbaths are mingled together, the upper Sabbath and the lower Sabbath. It is written about them, "The Lord appeared to me from afar," since the Zon can receive Chokhmah only when it is clothed in Chasadim. From afar is the highest point in his palace, the Chokhmah Bina, who are from afar to the Zon. Also, Zon needs the clothing of Chasadim from the lower world, which is Ma, which ends in the Nukva, because he needs the coupling of the lower one of Ma, which was completed in the Nukva, who is called Keep. The level of Chokhmah too was included in the Keep. This is the reason why it is written about, "Keep my Sabbaths." Also, the upper Sabbath that is included in Zon is included in the quality of keep, and not in the remember, since they necessarily end in the Nukva, to receive the level of Chasadim. Only the upper king, Chokhmah and Bina in and of themselves, who receive Chokhmah from him who is near, without clothing in Chasadim, and in remember, and are called remember and not keep. The point that stands in the middle is the actual lock that was established in upper Abba Ve'ima, in an unknown Avir. The middle point operates only in Ak, and not in the world of Atzilut. Hence, there is no attainment in upper Abba Ve'ima, who are Gar of Bina. And all the Chokhmah is imparted in the world of Atzilut only from Zat of Bina, who is called Yirsut, where the key operates. It is called a point in his palace. And since she was established in upper Abba Ve'ima, she is called my temple. Hence there is fear in her, as it is written, "And fear my temple," which is the point that stands in the middle. They who profane it are those who enter the space of the circle and the square, the place where that point is present, and blemish it. The circle is Abba Ve'ima, and the square is Zon, that clothe Abba Ve'ima and are included in the circle. Also, Malchut of Abba Ve'ima is the point within them. There are two discernments in this Malchut, lock and key. The key is called a point in his palace, and she is only Yesod in Malchut, operating only in Yeshut. The lock is Malchut in Malchut, the actual middle point, operating only in upper Abba Ve'ima. One who enters the space of the circle in the square meaning Malchut of Abba Ve'ima, whose Avir is unknown, the place where the middle point is present and blemishes it, shall be put to death because he wishes to extend light into her space, and it is forbidden to extend any light into her. This is why it is written fear, and it is written about the middle point, and fear my temple. The actual middle point is called I, and Abba Ve'ima are Havaya, that are present over that point. This is why they are hidden upper ones, undisclosed, since the thought has no attainment of them whatsoever. And this is I, the Lord, and it is all one, for they are regarded as one. This is why the point is called Abba Ve'ima as well, meaning, and fear my temple, since the actual point is considered holiness, like Abba Ve'ima, for they are one. You should know that the way in which Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Abba walk is not as it seems. Rather, it is as it is written, the way of the righteous is like the light of dawn, which shines brighter and brighter until the full day. It was said that Rabbi Elazar went to see Rabbi Yossi, son of Rabbi Shimon, son of Lakonia, his father-in-law. This implies the level of degree at which they stood at that time. This is because Ranpin has his own Abba Ve'ima, upper Abba Ve'ima. He also has his wife's Abba Ve'ima, who are Yeshut. First, Zaranpin obtains the Zaranpin for the Abba Ve'ima of his Nukva, who are Yeshut, Mochin of Neshama. And then he rises to a higher degree and obtains Mochin of Chaya for his own Abba Ve'ima, who are upper Abba Ve'ima. Also, the righteous that walk on the degrees are a Merkava for Zaranpin. And since the way in which Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Abba were walking was in Mochin of Neshama, the indication came that Rabbi Elazar went to meet his father-in-law, Abba Ve'ima of his Nukva, who is Mochin of Neshama. The donkey driver who is leading the donkeys behind them is the assistance to the souls of the righteous, which is sent to them from above to raise them from one degree to the next. Had it not been for this assistance which the Creator sends to the righteous, they would have been unable to rise from their degree and ascend higher. Hence, the Creator sends a high soul from above according to the merit and degree of each righteous, and it assists him on his way. In the beginning, the righteous does not know that soul at all. It seems to him that it is a very low soul which is accompanying him on his way. This is called the impregnation of the righteous's soul. It means that the soul above has not completed her assistance. Hence, it is completely undistinguishable that it is her. But once she completes her assistance and brings the righteous to the desired degree, he recognizes her and sees her sublimity. This is called the disclosure of the soul of the righteous. The soul which came to assist Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Abba was the soul of Rabbi Himnon Saba. This is a very high soul, immeasurably sublime. She is the light of Yechidah. However, in the beginning, she came to them by impregnation, and they only recognized the quality of the simple donkey driver in her, owner of the donkeys, whose craft is to take passengers from place to place on his donkeys, while he himself is walking on foot before his donkeys and leads them. This is why he is called the donkey driver. Rabbi Abba said, "Let us open the doors of Torah, for now is the time and the hour to be corrected on our way, to open the channels of the soul by opening the gates of the secrets of Torah, so they will be corrected on the path of the Creator on which they march." Rabbi Elazar explained the verse, "Keep my Sabbaths," in terms of the degree on which he stood, at Mochin of Yishsut, which is called seeing his father-in-law. Hence, he explained that the Sabbath itself is considered zon that are not yet holiness, but extend from holiness, from Mochin of Yishsut, that the zon extend on the Sabbath day. They explained the words, "and fear my temple," on these mochin, since there is still fear in the chokhmah that comes to zon from the bottom mochin of Yishsut, for they are still poised for a question. Hence there is fear in that holiness. Here, the donkey driver assisted them and revealed the mochin of Chaya in them. He explained, "Keep my Sabbaths on the upper Sabbath and on the lower Sabbath that come together through Zon's rising to Abba V'Ima, where Zon themselves become holiness, a square within a circle." It was not said fear in regard to them, but only keep. since the mochin of Chaya repel all the outer ones, and all the dinim come out of her on the Sabbath day. In that respect, there is no fear there. And he explained to them the words, "And fear my temple," in regard to the middle point, which operates in Gal of Abba Ve'ima, Gal of Mochin of Chaya, in which there is no attainment at all, and in which there is fear.
By that, the soul completed her task, because she brought them to attain Mochin of Chaya. Then they were rewarded with the disclosure of the soul of the righteous, for now they recognize the merit of that soul. For this reason, Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Abba came down and kissed the donkey driver, since the obtainment of the merit is clarified in the act of kissing. However, in truth, the role of that soul has not been completed yet, because she still needed to assist them in obtainment of the light of Yechidah. But since the obtainment of Chaya alone is a complete degree in and of itself, it is therefore considered that the soul appeared, was revealed to them to that extent. And the reason why they thought he was the son of Rab Himnona Saba and not Rav Himnona Saba himself is that Rav Himnona Saba is Yechidah. And his son is Chaya. Hence, because they only attained Chaya now, they were mistaken about him, thinking that he was Rav Himnona Saba's son. However, once he notified them about the meaning of the words of Benayahu, son of Yehoiada, who is the disclosure of the degree of Yechidah, he appeared to them in full, and they saw that he was Rav Himnona Saba himself. This is why he said to them, "Ask not who I am," since they felt about themselves that they still did not fully know him. For the assisting role of that soul has not yet been completed. For this reason, they implored him to disclose his name. But he replied to them that they should not ask for his name, because further disclosures of the secrets of the Torah were required. In other words, the path has not yet been fully corrected. He told them, rather, I and you shall walk and engage in the Torah. For you still need me to assist you in the engagement in the Torah. And each shall say words of wisdom to illuminate the way. For we still need to light the path, because we have not yet reached our destination.
We are in 86. They told him, "Who let you come here to be a donkey driver?" He replied to them, "The Yud waged war on two letters, Chaf and Samech, to come and bond with me. Chaf did not wish to depart from her place and bond with me, because she cannot be, even for a moment, but only in it, in the throne. Samech did not wish to leave her place because she must support those who are fallen, for they cannot be without the Samech. 87. Yud came to me alone, kissed, embraced me, cried with me, and told me, "My son, what shall I do for you? But I am departing, and I am filled with several good things, and superior and respectable hidden letters, and then I will come to you and assist you. And I will give you the inheritance of 2 letters, which are higher than the ones that have departed. Yud, Shin. The upper Yud and the upper Shin will be treasures filled with everything. For this reason, my son, go and drive the donkeys. This is why I am walking so." The donkey driver is an impregnation of the soul of a righteous that comes to assist those who walk on the path of the Creator to exit his degree and arrive at a more important degree, like those donkey drivers who take people from one place to place on their donkeys. At that time, the righteous too falls from his previous degree and comes to an impregnation of a new degree, like the soul that comes to assist him. Impregnation means departure of the mochin. This is what they wanted to know from him, how the Creator made it, so that you would come to us by impregnation, by which we have come to the departure of the mochin, and who let you walk here and be a donkey driver. He told them, the Yud waged war on 2 letters, the Chaf and the Samech, so they would come to connect with me. Yud is Chokhmah, and the degree of Mochin of Neshama is called a throne, from the words, the throne of God, since the Mochin of Chokhmah come clothed and covered, and are not disclosed. When the time came to obtain Mochin of Chaya, Yud of Havaya, the degree with which I have come to reward you, Chokhmah really did wish to connect the Mochin of the throne in me too, the Mochin of Neshama, who was previously in you, and the Yud waged war against them. However, the Chaf did not wish to depart from her place and bond with me, because she cannot be for even a moment, but only in him. This is so because Malchut of the upper that dressed in the lower Chaf, and when the Chaf wished to descend from the throne shook, and all the worlds shuddered and were about to fall, since any bonding of degrees with one another, from the top of Atzilut to the bottom of Asiyah, is through Malchut of the upper that dresses in the lower. Hence, she cannot come down from her place, the degree of Yesut, which is the degree of Neshama, for even a moment, since there cannot be a cessation in the degrees. Also, the Samech did not wish to leave her place because she must support those who are fallen, since they cannot be without a Samech. The Samech is the actual Mochin that the soul receives from Chabad Chagat of Abba Ve'ima, which impart upon Zon at the time of their Katunut. They support them so they will not fall from Atzilut outwards. Hence, it must be permanently in their place, unchanged. The thing is that the degrees are fixed, and only the souls undergo changes as they walk from degree to degree. Hence, the Mochin of Neshama did not wish to bond with the Yud, which is the level of Chokhmah, and connect to the soul of Rav Himnon Saba upon her descent to assist Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Abba, since they needed a new construction and extension of Mochin on the order beginning with impregnation through the level of Yechidah. This is why he said that Yud came to him alone, that she came to him without the Mochin of Chabad Chagat of Abba Ve'ima, called Samech. Also, it is known that the level of Chokhmah cannot clothe without the level of Chasadim that extended from the Samech. And since the Yud came alone without the level of Chasadim, she kissed him, embraced him, cried with him, and said to him, "My son, what shall I do for you?" In other words, she kissed and embraced him because she wished to clothe without chasadim. So she cried with him and said, "My son, what shall I do for you? As I have no tactic for clothing in you. And I depart, and I am filled with several good things, and superior and respectable hidden letters." Meaning, therefore now I must depart, and you will come in impregnation, to be built by yourself in all the phases of Ibul, Yenika, Mochin, anew. And I will return to you with complete mochin, filled with everything. You should know that this applies to any new degree, since as long as one needs to receive a new degree, he must arrive at the departure of the previous mochin. And as the previously never had any degree to begin the acquiring of the soul anew, which is called Ibul, then Yenika, which is the light of Ruach. She therefore said that because of that, my son, go and drive the donkeys, because it is impossible to extend anything from the previous degree. You must start the Ibul anew. And this is called donkey driving. And I will give you the inheritance of 2 letters, higher than the ones that have departed, Yud Shin. The Mochin of Chaya, which are called inheritance of Abba ve'Ima, are called Yud Shin, since Yud is Chokhmah and Shin is Binah. They are certainly more important than those Mochin of Neshama that have departed. And you will have treasures filled with everything, as it is written, to inherit those who love me with substance, and I will fill their treasures. 88. Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Abba rejoiced, wept, and said, "Go ride the donkey, and we will prod it behind you." He was to ride, and they were to lead the donkey. He told them, "And I did not tell you that it is the king's command until that donkey driver arrives." He is implying to the Messiah, of whom is it written, "Poor and mounted on a donkey." They said to him, "But you have not told us your name, and where is your dwelling place?" He replied to them, "My dwelling place is good and of great value to me. It is a tower floating in the air, great and honorable. And those who dwell in that tower are the Creator and one poor man. This is my dwelling place. I was exiled from there, and I lead donkeys." Rabbi Abba and Rabbi Elazar looked at him, and his words were agreeable to them. They were as sweet as manna and honey. They told him, "If you tell us the name of your father, we will kiss the dust of your feet." He told them, "What for? It is not my way to boast in the Torah." Now that they have recognized his great merit, they could not tolerate his state of impregnation on their behalf. So they told him that now that they have already obtained the mochin, it was enough for him, and he could exit the impregnation. And if they might still have something to complement, they can be an impregnation themselves. And there is no reason for him to suffer on their behalf. This is why they said, "Go ride the donkey, and we will prod it behind you." He told them, and I did not tell you that it is the king's command until that donkey driver arrives. This means that they need not ask for his name, because they need further revelations of the secrets of the Torah. Here he also hinted to them that this refers to the Yechidah that was missing in them, which is the welcoming of the Messiah King. This is the intimation. But until that donkey driver arrives, for the Messiah King is poor and rides a donkey. And the king's commandment is, until that donkey driver arrives, because the king's commandment relates to him to assist them until they are rewarded with the light of Yechidah. This is why they told him, "But you have not told us your name. You have not told us your name because we still did not obtain what we should attain from you. Yet, can you tell us your dwelling place nonetheless, the place of your degree, by which we will know that we still need to obtain you? He replied to them, my dwelling place is good and of great value to me. That is, my degree is good and sublime compared to the degree where I am now. For now, it is even beyond my own attainment. It is a tower floating in the air. A tower is the palace of the Messiah. Those who live in that tower are the Creator and one poor man, since the Messiah is poor and rides the donkey. The reason why he calls it great and honorable is that a mere tower that floats in the air is Binah. But here, when referring to the Messiah's palace, he mentions it by the name, a tower floating in the air, great and honorable. He says, this is my dwelling place. I have been exiled from there and lead donkeys. That is, my dwelling place is the tower, but now it is beyond me, as he said before. 89. But my father's dwelling place was in the great sea. He was a fish that circled the great sea from one end to end. And he was great and honorable, old and so ripe of age that he would swallow all the other fish in the sea, and then would bring them out alive and well, filled with all the abundance of the world. With his might, he would sail the entire sea in one moment. He took me out as an arrow in the hands of a mighty man and hid me in that place that I've told you, the tower floating in the air. And he returned to his place and hid in that sea. Explanation. The hidden coupling is called a fish, implying to the 50th gate. The great sea is Malchut. All the couplings from Atik of Atzilut down do not include any of the great sea, meaning all the Sfirot of Malchut, but only the first 9 of Malchut. And Malchut of Malchut included in the coupling because she remains, as it is written, the path no eagle knows. However, in Atik Yomin, there is a coupling on that Malchut too, which will appear only at the end of corrections. Rav Imnon Saba came out of that hidden coupling in Atik Yomin, which is why it is called my father. He says, my father's dwelling place was in the great sea, meaning that he made it with the Malchut, who is called the great sea. And should you say that all the Partsufim mate on the Malchut, he says to that, He was a fish that circled the great sea from end to end. In other words, he is considered a coupling of the 50th gate, which mates with the great sea with all Pchinot in her, from Keter to Malchut, from end to end, including Malchut of Malchut. And he was great and honorable, old and so ripe of age, for he is called Atik Yomin. And from him and below, this great coupling does not exist. It was said that he would swallow all the other fish in the sea. This is so because that great coupling swallows within it all the couplings and the neshamot, the souls, in all the worlds, for they are all included and annulled in it. And out of that incorporation, they are all called nunim, fish. And after the great corrections following that coupling, he gives birth once more to all the lights and neshamot that he had swallowed during the coupling, and they lived and exist forever, since they have already been filled with all the abundance of the world by him swallowing them through his great coupling.
He would sail the entire sea in one moment, since all the coupling from Atik Yomin down come by clothing of the Sfirot in one another. These clothings are regarded as cessations along the coupling until the drop comes to the yesod of male and female. But in the great coupling of Atik Yomin, it is without any clothing. Hence, it is considered that the coupling is in an instant. Quote, he would sail the entire sea in one moment, end quote, without any clothing, with his might. Might meaning, for all the givurot including in that coupling, he took me out, delivered me, as an arrow in the hands of a mighty man. However, these givurot are nothing like the givurot of the couplings below Atik Yomin. Rather, they are as it is written, neither has the eye seen a God besides you. However, indeed there is no birth without gvurot, because a seed that is not shot as an arrow does not beget. This is why it was said, he took me out as an arrow in the hands of a mighty man, and hid me in that place that I have told you, the great and honorable tower where the Creator and one poor man live. He returned to his place and hid in that sea. That is, after he begot him and hid him in a great and honorable tower, he returned to his coupling and hid in his place as before. 90.
Rabbi Elazar looked at his words and told him, you are the son of the holy light. You are the son of the old Rav Amnun Saba. You are the son of the light of the Torah, and you are leading our donkeys? They wept together and kissed him and went. They returned and said to him, "Perhaps it will be agreeable with our Lord to let us know his name." Commentary. They have not attained his words to the fullest, and attaining them was only in Mochin of Chaya. This is why they thought that he was the son of Rav Hamnuna Saba. Since Rav Hamnuna himself is from the Mochin of Yechida. To let us know his name means to receive his degree, since obtaining his name means attainment of his degree. 91. And Bnayahu, Ben, son of Yehoyada, son of a living man, Ben Ishchai, son of a living man of many deeds, Mekabtzel. This verse comes to show the highest secrets of the Torah. The name Bnayahu ben Yehoyada comes to imply to the meaning of the Chokhmah. It hints to a hidden thing, and the name causes. Ben Ishchai, son of a living man, is the righteous one who lives forever, valiant, of Baalim, of many deeds, means he is the master of all the deeds and all the upper hosts, for they all stem from him. He is called the Lord of hosts, since he is the token in all his hosts, excellent and greater than all. Here, the writing shows sublime secrets of the Torah. Bnayahu ben Yehoyada implies the meaning of the Chokhmah, since the holy name Yehoyada, this Yedi'ah, knowing, relates to the meaning of the Chokhmah, wisdom. It is very sublime. It is a very sublime hidden secret, and the name Yehoyada causes it to be hidden. Explanation. Keter of Atzilut is called Radla, Aramaic for the unknown Rosh. And Atik Yomin surrounds 5 Partzufim of Atzilut: Arich Anpin, Abba Ve'ima, and Zon, and is called Radla, a Rosh that is not known, where there is no coupling even in its own place. It is not known means that there is no extension of Mochin to the degrees below it. Arich Anpin of Atzilut is hidden from the lower ones too. Hence, he is called Chokhmah Stima'ah, hidden Chokhmah. However, he is not regarded as unknown as is Radla, since there is a coupling in its own place. Rather, it is only unknown since there is no extension of Mochin from it and below. And all the Mochin known in the worlds during the 6,000 years are only from Abba Ve'ima and Yesut, which are called Chokhmah of the 32 paths, or 32 Elokim of the work of creation. It was written, from where does wisdom come, Chokhmah? And where is the place of Binah, understanding? It is hidden from the eyes of all living. God understands its way, and He knows its place. It is written, God understood its way. Truly its way. Since Elokim, God, Zeranpin, knows the way of the expansion of Chokhmah of the 32 paths to the lower Chokhmah. However, He, Atika Kadisha, the Holy Ancient One, knows her place, her actual place. The actual upper Chokhmah is Abba Ve'ema. It is even more so with that Chokhmah that is concealed in Atika Kadisha, since it is its own Moach, mind or Mochin. Understood its way, meaning only the Chokhmah of the 32 paths, the 32 Elokim of the work of creation. This is why it is written, God understood its way. Chokhmah is phrased as Bina, understanding, for it is written, understood its way, since the essence of Chokhmah is only Bina. But she becomes Chokhmah through her ascent to Rosh Arich Anpin, receiving from Chokhmah Stima'ah and bestowing below. This Chokhmah is revealed only in the path of Bina, while she rises to Chokhmah Stima'ah of Arich Anpin. Elokim, Bina, understood her way to abundance of Chokhmah. This is why it is said its way, truly, meaning only a path for the abundance of Chokhmah. But she herself is Bina and not Chokhmah. And he knows its place, relates to Arich Anpin. For the name he knows points to what is hidden from the lower ones, which is Arich Anpin, who is called Holy Atik. He says about him that he knew the place of Chokhmah of the 32 paths, since he is the actual Chokhmah that imparts upon the Bina. This is why he says her actual place, and all the more so her way, since he is from the place of imparting of that Chokhmah, especially that he knows the way of Chokhmah when she is clothed in Bina. Moreover, Chokhmah is blocked in Holy Atik, meaning that he knows his own Chokhmah Stima'ah. However, he also knows her place, since this coupling is disclosed only in its own place, but it is not imparted from it and below at all. Thus, Mocha of Arich Anpin are considered knowing in its own place, although it is regarded as unknown from him and below. Only Mochin of Abba Ve'ema, which are the Mochin of the 32 paths of wisdom, are regarded as known. God understood its way, but the upper Rosh, above Arich Anpin, the Rosh of Atik Yomin, is regarded as knowing and unknown, for there is no coupling even in its own place, and there is no expansion of Mochin from him and below and to the lower ones. And yet, all this relates only to the souls and the worlds in general. However, in relation to the souls in particular, there are high souls that were rewarded with being man for the great coupling of that Rosh of Atik Yomin after their demise, and to receive the level of Yechidah in the upper world, which comes from that coupling. These are the souls of Bnayahu ben Yehoyada, of Amnon Saba, and others. Those high souls appear to the righteous in this world, and the righteous too are rewarded with seeing the light of Yechidah that illuminates in those high souls. The name Bnayahu ben Yehoyada comes to imply to the meaning of Chokhmah. This soul, called Bnayahu ben Yehoyada, comes from the internality of Chokhmah, Chokhmah of Atik Yomin. The illumination of that soul is hidden because the name Yehoyada causes the illumination of the soul to be hidden. For it means Yeho, Yud Kevav, Yada, knew. But it was unknown to others. Thus, he remained hidden in his own place. First, he explains the quality of the coupling and the merit of the level of the great light that comes out of that coupling of Rosh of Atik Yomin, which is explained in the verse, Son of a living man, of many deeds, Mekabtzel. Afterwards, he explains the meaning of the hidden matter in the illumination of that soul. And this is explained in the verse, he struck the two, Ariel, Moab. The meaning of the words, son of a living man of many deeds, Mekabtzel. This coupling is the coupling of the end of correction, which includes all the couplings and levels that came out one at a time during the 6,000 years. When all these lights gather in it at the same time. Similarly, the man that rises for that coupling includes within it all the torments and the punishments that have appeared during the 6,000 years, one by one. Thus, there is no end to the height of the level that comes out of that coupling, and it terminates the klipot and the sitra achra forever. The Yesod, which gives the general mad, meaning all the lights that came out during the 6,000 years, is called a living man of many deeds. And the Malchut that includes within it all the man and the suffering that have appeared over the 6,000 years is called Mekabtzel. Son of a living man is a righteous who lives forever, since the name always indicates the Yesod, which gives to the Nukva. He has no receptacle for his own need. Hence, it is considered that he is living only in the world, in Nukva, when he gives to her. This is why he is called a righteous who lives forever. However, in this coupling of his, he is mentioned by name of many deeds, the master of all the deeds and all the upper hosts, which now includes in his mud all the good deeds and all the upper degrees that have appeared one by one during the 6,000 years. Now, they have all assembled in him at the same time, and they are renewed in the upper light, and come out from him to the Nukva all at once. This is why he is called of many deeds. They all come out from him, meaning they all come out at once to the Nukva, at once, Havaya of hosts, for he is a token in all his hosts, finer and greater than all. For now, the holy name, Lord of hosts, has appeared in him in its full perfection. As now, he is a token in all his hosts, as he is inscribed with all the works and all the upper hosts, and he grows and transcends all of them in his illumination.
92. Of many deeds is Mekabtziel, the great and honorable tree, the greatest of all. From which place did he come out? From which degree did he come? The writing repeats Mekabtziel is a high and hidden degree which neither has the eye seen, a God besides you. A degree that everything is in it, and which collects of the upper light within it, and from which everything comes out. Explanation. Now the Nukva is called Mekabtziel, because of many deeds is Mekabtziel, meaning that the Nukva assembles within her all the lights from Yesod at once. This is why he is called of many deeds. The level that comes out on this coupling is called the great and honorable tree, which comes out of Yesod and comes to the Nukva. He says that to show us the quality of that high level from which it comes and arrives, he replied that verse in the name Mekabtziel, that the upper light assembles them in Yesod and gives them to the Nukva. Thus both are named Mekabtziel together. This is a high and hidden degree that neither has the eye seen a God besides you. In other words, that degree which comes out of that coupling is called neither has the eye seen a God besides you. He says that the entire correction is at that degree, at the time of the last perfection. Hence, it is regarded as a degree that everything is in it, because he assembled of the upper light within it, and all the abundance and the upper lights from all 6,000 years all at once, and renewed them in the upper light. This is why it was said that everything comes out of it, because this is why all the longed for perfection comes out and appears now. 93. This is the holy hidden place in which all the degrees are hidden and assembled. And in the goof of that palace are all the worlds, and all the holy hosts are nourished by it and exist there. The Rosh of Atikim in itself is the holy and hidden palace, that all the degrees in all the worlds are assembled and hidden within it. By that, it explains how this great coupling of the end of correction was formed and made possible to include all the degrees and levels that came out within it, one at a time, during the 6,000 years, to renew it and bring it out at once. That Rosh of Atik Yomin is the holy and hidden palace, in which all the degrees are hidden and assembled. That is, during the days of the existence of the world, when the degrees are in ascent and descent. This is so because once the degree becomes revealed, it departs again because of the sin of the lower ones. Upon the departure of the degree, it is not lost, but rises to Rosh of Atik and becomes concealed there. In this way, it gathers within it each level and degree that appears in the worlds. They come there one at a time and assemble and disappear within it until the time of the end of correction. When it renews them and brings them out at once. In that guf of that palace are all the worlds. Since that hidden and holy palace, called Rosh of Atik Yomin, is regarded as not knowing and unknown during the entire 6,000 years. Hence, although it gathers within it all the lights that appear in the worlds, none of them appears until the end of correction. It follows that after the concealment of each degree, due to the flaw in the lower ones, since she has risen to Rosh of Atik and was hidden there, all the degrees are hidden and assembled in it. Moreover, the guf of Atik Yomin, from its peh of Rosh down, is clothed in the 5 parzufim of Atzilut, and through them it illuminates to all the worlds. Also, there is no illumination, small or great, which does not come from the guf of Atik Yomin. And in the guf of that palace are all the worlds, since the guf of Atik Yomin dresses in all the parzufim in Abiyah, and all the worlds clothe it and exist in it. Their whole existence and illumination come from it, and all the holy hosts are nourished by it and exist. These are the lights that come to revive the worlds, and they are called nourishments, and the lights that come to Mochin of Gedlut. They all extend from Guf of Atik Yomin. And in regards to the abundance for sustaining the world, it was said that they are nourished by it, meaning nourishments. And in regard to the Mochin of Gedlut, it was said that they exist, since the Mochin impart upon each parzuf according to the level attributed to it. (94) There are 2 temples that were nourished for it, the first temple and the second temple. And since it departed, the extension that was extended from above was arrested, and it is considered that he seemingly struck them and ruined and destroyed them. As it is written, he struck the two Ariel Moav. Commentary. After the illumination of Guf of Atik Yumin departed, the abundance that was extended from it, from there and above, ceased. Hence, two temples were ruined. It follows that he seemingly struck them, ruined them, and destroyed them. These are truly profound things, because it means that due to the disclosure of the level of the great coupling of Rosh of Atik Yomin, the illumination of Guf of Atik Yomin departed from all the worlds. Hence, the temples were ruined, and all the lights that would illuminate for Israel were darkened. All the corrections relate only to Bchina Dalet, Malchut, and Nukva of Zeranpin, Parzuf Bon. This is so because the breaking of the vessels occurred because of it, as well as the sin of the tree of knowledge. And all the work of the righteous during the 6,000 years is to return and correct it, as it was prior to the breaking of the vessels and before the sin of Adam Arishon. Afterwards, the great coupling of Rosh of Atik Yomin will appear, forever uprooting the klipot and the sitra achra. As it is written, death will be swallowed up forever. And since the bone has already been corrected forever and no longer needs any corrections, the bone will return to being sag, and this will complete the entire correction. However, in the meantime, after the great coupling of Atik Yomin and before the return of Bon to being Sag, there is an issue of departure of the illumination of the Guf of Atik. Because of its departure, two temples were ruined, two discernments of Mochin, which illuminate in two temples. Mochin of upper Abba Ve'ima, which illuminate in the first temple, and Mochin of Yesut, which illuminate in the second temple. Also, all the illuminations of Israel were ruined and departed, for all those ruins are the last corrections, which will bring the bone back to being Sag, which is all that is desired.
And then the two temples will be rebuilt by heaven. From screen of Bchina Bet, Bina, that is through the screen of Sag of Ak, from before the second restriction, which is cleaned of any restriction, but only out of heaven, as it is written, for he desires mercy. At that time, the two temples will exist forever, and the light of the moon will be as the light of the sun, upper Bina, which is now the light of Zeranpin, the sun. Also, the light of the sun will be sevenfold as the light of the 7 days, as Zat of Atik Yomin, from which the light extends to Abba Ve'ima, that emanated the 7 days of creation. Since Zeranpin, the sun, will once again be Ab, in which there is the light of Guf of Atik. And the reason for the departure of Guf of Atik prior to those corrections is that there are only 2 nukvas in 10 sfirot, Bina and Malchut, Sag and Bon. It follows that after the great coupling of Atik Yomin, Bon was cancelled and the screen of Sag was cancelled along with it due to the correction that is done in Guf of Atik, associating Bina and Malchut with each other, associating the quality of judgment with the quality of mercy. Through that association, he emanated to Partzuf Archanpin of Atzilut, and all the Partzufim of Abiyah came out and existed only in this Malchut, which is associated and mitigated by the quality of mercy, Bina. Hence, since the screen of Bon had been cancelled, the screen of Bchina Bet has been cancelled along with it, which is the screen of Sag, while they are tied together as one. And since the Nukva and the screen were cancelled, the coupling with the upper light was stopped, hence the entire illumination of the Guf of Atik that was over the screen that is associated with the quality of mercy completely departed. And naturally, all the lights from the screen downward, which extend from Guf of Atik, were ruined. It was written, he struck the 2, Ariel and Moav. 2 temples existed and were nourished for it, the first temple and the second temple. When he departed, the extension that was being extended from above had ceased, since because the Bon was cancelled by the great coupling of Atik Yomin, the Sag, the screen of Bchina Bet itself was cancelled too. And since the screen is unfit for coupling, the upper light that was the extension that extended from above ceased because of the cancelling of the screen. Thus, due to the great coupling that was done in Rosh of Atik Yomin, the imparting of light from Guf of Atik Yomin has ceased and was cancelled due to the coupling of the Rosh cancelled the screen of Bon. And because thus far the screen of Bon was connected with the screen of Sag in Guf of Atik Yomin as one, the screen of Sag was cancelled too. And since there is no screen for coupling by striking, there is no room for the upper light to impart there.
Item 95. The holy throne, Malchut, fell. As it is written, and I was in the exile. That degree, I, Malchut, was in the exile on the river Kevar, which extends and comes out since the days of old. And now its waters and fountains have dried out, and it no longer flows as before. It is as it is written, and the river will be ruined and dry out. Ruined in the first temple, and dry out in the second temple. This is why it is written, he struck the 2, Ariel, Moab. Moab means from the Av, the Father in heaven. They were ruined and perished for him. And all the lights that illuminated for Israel have darkened. A throne points to the mitigation of Malchut in Bina, which is the throne of Rachamim, by which all the Mochin are imparted in 6,000 years to all the Patzufim of Abiyah. This is why it was said, and the holy throne, Malchut, fell, since out of annulling the screen of Bon, the screen of Sag, the throne, was cancelled and fell, as well, as it is written, and I was in the exile. Meaning that degree, I was in the exile. I is the Malchut of the upper one, which becomes Keter for the lower one. This is because the letters Ani, I, are the letters of Ein, not the name of Keter, crown. It is known that Malchut of the upper one is the whole connection between the Patzufim. Each upper one makes the coupling on his Malchut, which elicits reflected light, dressing the direct light of the upper one. Afterwards, Malchut of the upper one descends in the 10 Sfirot of her reflected light, within which the level of direct light clothes and dresses in the lower one. Thus, now that degree I is in exile, since the coupling with the upper one has been cancelled from it, and the upper light ceased from all the Patzufim. On the river Kabar, which extends and comes out since days of old, and now its waters and fountains have dried out. This is so because while she is corrected with a screen, she is called a river that extends and comes out. This means that the upper light extends to the lower one through her, like the waters of a river that flow continuously. But now that the screen has been revoked, the river is named the river Kavar. For in the past, it was a river, but now, since now its waters and fountains have dried out. Its waters is the upper light that used to be extended in it. Its fountains are the screen, which was considered a fountain while it was corrected in her. This is so because the abundance was tied to it and ceaselessly emitted from it. And now it has all that stopped and is not continuing as before, meaning that the upper light no longer extends from it as before. As it is written, and the river will be ruined and dry out. It will be ruined in the first temple and dry out in the second temple. Ima is considered the first temple, and Tvuna is called the second temple. It is written about the first temple that it will be ruined because in it the coupling had stopped, because the fountain, which is the screen, was ruined. And since there is no coupling in Upper Ima, Tvuna is completely dried out. This is why it is written about Tvuna and dry out. Moab means from the Av, Father in heaven. This is so because the root of the Mochin of the two temples is from Abba, who is the Father in heaven, which shines for Za'anpin, heaven, whose lights elevated Zon to Yeshut in the second temple, and to the upper Abba Ve'ima in the first temple. Now they have been ruined and darkened due to the cessation of the abundance of guf of Atik Yomin. And all his lights, which used to shine for Israel, have gone dark. This means that not only did the great mochin of the two temples darken, but the lights that illuminated for Israel, even the lights of Vak and the lights of Bia, were all ruined. '96. He went down and struck the lion inside a pit. In early times, when this river extended its waters below, Israel were in wholeness, because they would offer offerings and sacrifices to atone for their souls. At that time, an image of a lion would come down, and they would see it on the altar crouching over its prey, eating the offerings as a mighty man. And all the dogs, the slanderers, would hide from him and would not come out to slander. Explanation. The fire of the High One, who would crouch over the altar in the temple, was crouching like a lion. It would burn the offerings that the children of Israel offered on it. And this is why it was said, in early times, when this river extended its waters below, Israel were in wholeness. It is so because before the illumination of Atik was revoked, and the upper lights were drawn to Israel as a river, whose waters extend from above downward ceaselessly, Israel were in their full wholeness. For they would offer offerings and sacrifices to atone for their souls. Along with the offerings that they would offer, they would raise man for the upper coupling on the screen. And mad, which are the mochin, would be drawn out. By that, they drew closer in great adhesion to their Father in heaven. And all the klipot fled and moved away from them. This is the meaning of to atone for their souls, since the departure of the klipot from the souls was considered atonement. It is like a stained garment whereby washing, all the stains are removed and cleaned from the garment. This is why it was called offerings, since Israel offer for their Father in heaven. And since they were in their wholeness and were raising man only to bring contentment to their Maker, the man would rise up to Binah, where there is the light of Chasadim and bestow in the form of a lion, Chesed. It is considered that Binah's lion received the good deeds and the man that the children of Israel raised. And they saw their man fall prey to upper Binah. Binah's light of Chasadim extended in direct light over the man, and the direct light will crouch over the prey, man, and eat it. Regarding the lion's eating of the offering, the essence of the offering is the man that rises for strengthening the screen and to raise reflected light. And since the amount of direct light is measured by the amount of the reflected light that rises from the screen, it is considered that the direct light is nourished by the man and grows and is sustained by it. It is like an animal that lives and grows by the food that it eats. Similarly, all the livelihood of the corporeal animal depends on the food that it eats, and it dies upon their cessation. Just so the upper light depends on the reflected light that rises from the screen. And when the reflected light ceases, it is cancelled from the lower one. This is why it was said that an image of a lion comes down from above. The light of Binah, which extends from above downward in direct light, is in the image of a lion, the form of bestowal as the nature of Binah. And they would see it crouching over its prey, meaning they saw the direct light clothing and crouching within the reflected light that rises from the offering, which is its prey and nourishments. It eats the offerings as a mighty man. This means that it eats and grows through the offerings as a mighty man. Because when Israel were in wholeness, a measure of bestowal, which is raising man and reflected light, was with great power from below upward. This is so because the level of the reflected light was measured by the size of the striking of the screen in tremor and in shudder, which repels the upper light from below upward. And as the measure of the level of ascent of reflected light, so is the level of direct light extended in it. Hence, if the level of reflected light increases with great power, it is considered that the lion is eating the offerings as a mighty man, upright and with strength. For by the strength, its level increases and rises. This is why it was said that all the dogs, the slanderers, would hide from it and would not come out to slander. It is so because the klipa of reception for oneself is called a dog. As the Zohar says about the words, the leech has two daughters, have, give, give, which howl as dogs and say, have, give us the wealth of this world, and have us the wealth of the next world. This is the strongest klipa, whose strength grows most opposite the light of Yechidah. As it is written, deliver my soul from the sword, my only one, Yechidah, from the dog. That klipa is the opposite of the lion who eats the aforementioned offerings. It is so because as the lion, chesed, is all to bestow and not receive, like the quality of Hasid, the pious. What's mine is yours and what's yours is yours. The dog klipa is all to receive and nothing to bestow. It is as we learn about the righteous ones among the nations of the world. that all the grace that they do for themselves, since they are connected to the dog klipa. This is why it was said that when Israel were whole and were rewarded with the discernment of the lion that eats its offerings, all the dogs would hide from it and would not come out, since they raised man with great might. By that, they gave power to the screen in Malchut to repel the upper light from it and above with great might. Thus, the amount of reflected light that was in the level was very high, as it was said that he was eating the offerings as a mighty man. Hence, even those harsh klipot, which are the dogs, all fled and to cover and hid for fear of the might of that lion that would not come out of their hiding.
97. Since they caused the iniquities, he descended into the degrees below and killed that lion. Since because he did not wish to give him as his prey as before, it is regarded as though he killed it. Hence, indeed, he struck the lion into the pit, meaning before the other side, the evil one. When the other side saw it, it grew stronger and sent a dog to eat the offerings from over the altar instead of the lion. That lion is called Uriel, whose face is the face of a lion. And the name of that dog is Baladan, with the letters of Bal Adam, not human, with the letter Mem being replaced with the Nun, since he is not at all a man, but a dog, and the face of a dog. Because the screens were revoked from Bon and from Sag, Israel below could no longer raise man, which is the nourishment of the lion. Hence, the coupling stopped, and the upper light, the lion, departed. It is regarded as though he killed that lion, for he rose above to his root and disappeared from the lower ones. This is why it was said, struck the lion into the pit before the other side, the evil one, since the root of reception for oneself is in the einaim, the eyes, for the eyes see and the heart covets. This reception is called a pit, because it is an empty pit without water, meaning that the upper light is not drawn into there. As we learn, he and I cannot dwell in the same abode. He struck the lion into the pit before the eyes of the other side, the evil one, because striking the lion was before the evil eyes of the Sitra Achra, called a pit, which are the broken cisterns that will not hold the water. And now they have come out of their hiding and appeared with great domination. He sent a dog to eat the offerings, because the opposite of the lion that eats the offerings is that dog which always howls have, give. That lion, whose name is Uriel, whose face is the face of a dog, of the lion, sorry. The name of El, God, is Chesed, right. And the lion, the light of Chesed, is called Uriel, illuminate God, meaning light that is extended from the name El. His face is to the right, bestow, as it is written. All four had the face of a lion on the right. And the name of that dog was Baladan, for he was not at all a man, but a dog. Zeranpin is called a man when he has mochin from Binah, which is Adam in Gematria, 45. Adam, Aleph, Daled, Mem. Binah is bestow. Hence we learn, you are called men, and the nations of the world are not called men, because all the greats that they do it for themselves. This is why he is called Baladan, with the letters Bal Adam, because the final mem is replaced with a final nun. 98. And he struck the lion inside the pit on the day of the snow, the day when they caused their iniquities, when the judgment was sentenced above from the upper courthouse. This is why it is written, she is not afraid of the snow for her household, which is the upper din, judgment, called snow. Also, it is written that she is not afraid because her entire household is dressed in scarlet. Hence, she could tolerate a strong fire. The judgments corresponding to the male are called snow. Hence, it is considered that they are extended from the upper courthouse. These judgments are very harsh at first, but they become light in the end, for they are mitigated only in the end, which is the nukva. And opposite these judgments, the nukva said, sustain me with raisin cakes, Hebrew ashishot, which implies two ishot, two fires, the upper fire, Binah, and her own fire. Then, once she has these two fires, she mitigates the judgments, which are as cold as snow, since her fire takes out their chill. This is why it was said, she's not afraid of the snow for her household, which is the upper judgment, the harsh male judgments. She's not afraid because her entire house is dressed in scarlet. Scarlet is two fires. And since her house is dressed in two fires, she is not afraid of the snow for her house. Moreover, snow is mitigated inside her fires. This is why it was said that she could tolerate a strong fire, that this snow helps her tolerate her fires. He tells us now that the screens, and that now that the screens and the couplings of Bon and Sag have been revoked, and those two fires have been revoked, the judgments of snow have regained their strength. They imply that what is presented thus far appeared immediately after the coupling of Atik Yomin. But what is written afterwards is a consequence and comes after that.
99. Afterwards, it is written, and he struck an Egyptian, a man in view, and killed him with his own spear. It comes to alert that each time Israel sinned, he departed and prevented all the abundance from them and all the lights that illuminated for them. He struck an Egyptian, is light that was illuminating for Israel. And he is Moses, of whom it is written, and they said, an Egyptian saved us from the shepherds. Since he was born and raised in Egypt, and there he rose to the upper light. The text does not refer to an actual person, but to light, since he cancelled and concealed the light, which is regarded as though he killed him. This is why it was said that it is that light that illuminated for Israel, and it is Moses. That is, it cancelled the great light of the illumination of Moses unto Israel, and calls it an Egyptian, because he was born and raised in Egypt. As it is written, and Moses grew and went out to his brothers, where he was rewarded with the upper light, the redemption of Israel from Egypt. Item 100. A man in view. In view, as it is written, in view and not in riddles. A man is, as it is written, a man of God, seemingly the husband of that view of the glory of God, Malchut. For he was rewarded with conducting this degree in the earth in all that he wished. This, no other man has been rewarded. The difference between Moses and the rest of the prophets is that Moses was a Merkava for Zeranpin. He would build and bestow from Zeranpin to the Nukva, but the rest of the prophets were a Merkava for the Nukva and were given by the Nukva. This is why it was said, a man of God, the husband of that view, the Nukva, called the glory of God. He is regarded as the husband of divinity. He was rewarded because he was rewarded with leading this degree. For he is a Merkava for Zeranpin, building, imparting, and leading the Nukva. No other man has been rewarded with it, since the rest of the prophets were a Merkava for the Nukva, and the Nukva was giving to them. Thus they are below her, guided by her. Hence, no other person in the world has been rewarded with the quality of Moses.
101. The Egyptian had a spear in his hand. This is the staff of God that was given to him, and the staff of God in my hand is the staff that was created on the eve of the Sabbath in the twilight, in which a holy carving is engraved, the holy name. With that staff, he sinned with the rock, as it's written, and struck the rock twice with his rod. the Creator told him, Moses, I did not give you my staff for this. Thus, henceforth, it will not be in your hand. The twilight is the great sweetening of Malchut and Bina, to the point that it is indistinguishable whether it's Malchut or Bina. This is so because on Sabbath, Malchut rises to Abba Ve'ima and becomes Bina. And on the eve of the Sabbath, in the twilight, she is no longer actually Bina, but is also not discerned as Malchut. This is the meaning of the 10 things that were created in the twilight, when their origin is indistinguishable, whether from Bina or from Malchut. Since then, the Nukva herself is indistinguishable. This is the meaning of the staff that was created on the eve of Sabbath in the twilight, and for which a holy carving is engraved in it, the holy name. Engraving the holy name points to Binah, from whom the holiness extends. Holy carving points to Malchut, which is only a carving to receive the holy name. These two carvings were included in the staff as one, indistinguishable discernment, since it was created on the eve of the Sabbath in the twilight. Hence, it could extend all the lights and all the miracles and wonders upon Israel, which are the extension of the lights of Binah and Malchut. Through it, Moses was rewarded with upper Binah and with being the man of God. This is called the staff of God, after Binah, and it is called a spear, Vav of Havaya, which makes a coupling with the bottom He. Malchut is called Tzur, flint, and Bina is called Rock. The inner coupling of Zon, when rising to Abba Ve'ima, and the Nukva uses the vessels of Ima, that coupling by striking is called speech. And the outer coupling of Zon, in their own place, is called coupling by striking. This is the meaning of what was said to Moses. And you shall strike the rock, and water will come out of it. Since the flint is Malchut, in which there is striking. However, it's also written, and speak to the rock before their eyes, and it will yield its water. Since when the rock is in Bina's place, the coupling is called speech. And this is the sin of Moses, for he used his staff twice, since besides hitting its flint, he also struck the rock, meaning twice. Thus, he had sinned with the rock, since there is no striking in it, only speech. He sinned in the rock with this staff, since because it was indistinguishable whether the staff of God belonged to Malchut or to Binah. He used it on the rock as well, as it's written, and struck the rock twice with his rod, the flint and the rock. The Creator told him, Moses, I did not give you my staff so you would use it on the rock as well. 102. Promptly. And he went down to him with a club, meaning with harsh judgment, and snatched the spear from the Egyptian's hand. Since from that time forth, that staff, the spear, has been devoid of him, and he will not have it forever. And killed him with his own spear. For because of that sin of striking the rock with the staff, he died and did not enter the Holy Land. And this light was prevented from Yisrael. This is so because by the great coupling of Atik Yomin, the Sag did not need to be cancelled whatsoever, only the Bon. And then the Bon would immediately rise and become Sag for all eternity. However, since the Sag and the Bon were attached together, the Sag was cancelled along with the Bon. And because of that, the temples were ruined in the meantime. For the same reason, Moses' illumination to the children of Israel was cancelled, for he sinned most in the connection of the Bon with the Sag by the striking of the rock. For this reason, and he went down to him with a club, with harsh judgment, for the cancellation of the Sag was done in harsh judgment, since indeed he had no connection with the Bon. And the cancellation of the Bon did not concern him at all. It is written, it will be known as bringing upwards axes in a thicket of trees, and now all its carved work they smash together with hatchet and hammers. Due to the raising and sweetening of Malchut and her ascent to Binah, it has now become as though bringing upward axes in a thicket of trees. For the Sag too has been cancelled by that ascent, meaning with a hatchet and hammers. This is why it was written, and snatched the spear from the Egyptian's hand. Since from that time forth, the staff, the spear, was never in his hand because the spear actually belonged to Bon. For this reason, his illumination has been revoked forever, since the Bon itself was later renewed and became Sag for eternity. Hence, there is no longer interest in using the staff for striking. Hence it was written, and killed him with his own spear. For because of that sin of striking the rock with the staff, he died. Had he been cautious, using it only with flint and not with rock, the Sag would not have been cancelled with the Bon, and he would not have died, but would immediately rise to Sag. He did not enter the Holy Land because the land of Israel is the ascent of Bon to the Sag. Hence, it is called the Holy Land. This is so because the Mochin of Bina, which shine in at that time, are called holiness. And prior to the end of correction, while there are ups and downs, there are ruins and exiles because of it. But at the end of correction, Bon will remain in Sag forever, as in regard to the land of Israel, and there will never be any exile.
103. It is written, he was more honorable than the 30, but he did not come to the 3. And David set him to his discipline. These are the upper 30 years from which he would take and extend below. He would take of them and draw near, but did not come to the 3. Rather, they would come to him and give him willingly, and he did not come to them. Now, Chabad are called 30. 3 Sfirot, each of which comprises 10. These are the whole of the Mochin that shine during the 6,000 years. And the soul of Benayahu that comes from the great coupling of Atik Yomin, that collects from all of those couplings of the 6,000 years in a coupling of a man of many deeds, Mekabtzel, on a single level, which is Benayahu ben Yehoyada. It follows that he receives and is honored by all those upper 30 years, which he would take from the Mochin of 30 years, which extend to his soul, which are extended to his soul below, at the end of them all. And from them he would take and draw near. Since his whole level is only from what he took and gathered of their couplings, which come one at a time. And yet, he did not come to the 3. They would come to him and give him willingly. He did not come to them. For although they gave him all of his sublime merit willingly, he still could not come to them afterwards and receive more from them. Since by the revocation of the screen of Bon, his screen of Sag was revoked as well. He remained without a screen. Hence he could not come to them to raise man and to receive more from them. 104. Even though he was still not counted and calculated by them, it is still written, and David set him to his discipline, meaning that he never parted from his heart, for they never part. David paid attention to him, but he did not pay attention to David, because the praises, the songs, and the mercy that the moon does towards the sun draw her towards her, making his dwelling place be with her. This is the meaning of, and David set him to his discipline. David is Malchut, the fourth leg of Gal. Although it cannot come to the upper 30 years, which are Gal. Still, David set him to his discipline, meaning he clung to him and never moved from his heart. The reason is that all the wholeness in Malchut is revealed in him, since he is from the great coupling of Atik Yomin, which arrests all of the shells from the name Bon. As it is written, death will be swallowed up forever. This is why it was said that David paid attention to him, that he never parted from his heart, for his wholeness is in him. But Benayahu ben Yehoyada did not pay attention to David, since David is the fourth leg of Gar, since as he cannot receive from the Gar, so he could not receive from David. And so he did not pay attention to him. Through the praises, the songs, and the mercy that the moon does for the sun, meaning through the man that Malchut, the moon, raises to Zeranpin, the sun, she extends upon her the illumination of the soul of Benayahu ben Yehoyada, her last wholeness, so his dwelling will be with her, that he may adhere to her forever. 105. Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Abba bowed face down before him. At that time, they did not see him. They rose, looked to all the sides, but did not see him. They sat, wept, and could not speak to one another. Rabbi Abba said, "This must be what we learned, that whichever way the righteous walk with words of Torah among them, the righteous from the world come to them, from that world come to them to disclose to them words of Torah. It must be that Rav Himnon Saba came to us from that world to disclose these things to us. And before we got to know him, he went away and disappeared from us." They rose and wished to drive the donkeys, but the donkeys would not go. They wished to drive them again, but they would not go. They feared and left the donkeys, and to this day that place is called the place of the donkeys, for they could not tolerate that great light that appeared to them upon the disclosure of these secrets, and bow down before him. At that time they did not see him, since after they were rewarded with receiving from him his great and sublime degree, he promptly disappeared from them, and they could no longer find him and catch up with him. Hence, their sorrow was so great that they sat and wept until they could not speak to one another.
They said, "It is Rav Himnona Saba." For now, they have recognized his degree, that he was Rav Himnona Saba himself, and not as they previously thought, that he was only Rav Himnona Saba's son. they rose and wanted to drive the donkeys. For the donkeys are the forces that the soul of Rav Himnon Saba gave them, so they could raise man to obtain the degrees Chaya and Yechida, which they obtained through him. He put them on the donkeys and walked before them to light the path of the righteous for them. And now that he has completed his task and disappeared from them, they wished to climb up and ride his donkeys once again, meaning raise man once more to attain him once again. However, they wished to lead them, but they would not walk. For now they could no longer receive from the donkeys the strength to raise man. Hence they feared and left the donkeys in that place where Rav Himnon Saba disappeared from them, and marked that place by the name the place of the donkeys, after the event of not being able to use them anymore.
סעיף 106. פתח רבי אלעזר ואמר,
106.
מה רב טובך,
Rabbi Elazar started and said, "How great is your goodness, which you have concealed for those who fear you,
נגד בני אדם,
which you have made for those who take refuge in you,
הטוב העליון
before
והמכובד,
people.
שעתיד הקדוש ברוך הוא לעשות לבני
How
אדם,
much is the honorable upper good that the Creator is destined to do for people, to those upper righteous who fear sin, who engage in Torah,
שהם באים,
when they come to that world."
לא כתוב טובך,
It does not say your goodness, but great goodness.
כתוב
As it is written, they shall express the memory of your great goodness.
חיי עונג
This is the life of pleasure that extends from the next world to the one who lives forever,
שנקרא
who is called the memory of your great goodness.
ודאי
Indeed,
שכתוב,
it is as it is written, and great goodness to the house of Israel.
המילה רב מורה
The word
תמיד
great always indicates gadlut.
רב טובך,
Great goodness indicates a life of pleasure, mochin of Gar,
כי עיקרו של הפרצוף,
since the essence of the Parzuf and its life is mochin of Vak, which is received from the coupling of Abba Ve'ima to sustain the worlds.
אמנם יש גם
However,
מוחין של
there is
תוספת
also mochin of addition,
להנגים את החיים,
which delights the living.
שהם מוחין דגר,
These are mochin of Gar, and they are called great goodness and a life of pleasure.
הנמשכים
This is why it was said that extends from the next world to the one who lives forever.
דגר,
Since mochin of Gar, which are chokhmah,
נמשכים מהבינה,
extend from the Binah, which is called the next world,
מתלבשים
and clothed in an honorable clothing of chasadim,
מזיווג
which
היסודות,
comes from the coupling of Yesodot,
חי העולמים,
called the one who lives forever.
מגיעים המוחים
From there, the mochin arrive
יראי חטא.
to the righteous who fear sin.
סעיף 107.
107.
יש לפרש מה
We should also interpret how great is your goodness.
נחקק
That
סוד החוכמה.
here the meaning of the chokhmah is engraved, and all the secrets are included here.
זהו אילן
Great
רב
is a great and strong tree, Zer Anpin,
משום שיש אילן
since
הקטן
there is a smaller tree than him, the Malchut.
וזה זרנפין הוא
This Zer Anpin is great and brings him in the height of firmaments.
שבפסוק הזה
We should
נרשמה
understand that in this verse, the internality of Chokhmah is registered, and all the secrets are included in it. Chokhmah indicates couplings of Atik, and all the secrets indicates the completion of the entire correction. Ma is the world, is the lower world. Great points to a great and strong tree, Zeranpin, upon his clothing over Ab. At that time, he is called a great tree, after the Chokhmah, and he is called strong in and of himself. However, when Zeranpin is in his own place, he is only called a tree.
על כן נאמר, משום שיש אילן אחר הקטן ממנו.
This is why it is said, since there is another tree smaller than him, the Malchut, which is called a tree too. Zeranpin is great, and when he clothes the level of Ab, he is called great, and brings him in the height of the firmaments, since the height of Ab reaches up to Keter, called the height of the firmaments. Since the Ab dresses over Partzuf Keter, hence Ab raises the Zeranpin to the height of the firmaments. Item 108. Your goodness is the light that was created on the first day of the work of creation, which you have concealed for those who fear you, since he concealed it for the righteous in the world. Which you have made is the upper Garden of Eden, as it is written, the place which you have made for your dwelling, O Lord. This is the meaning of made for those who take refuge in you. The light that was created on the first day is the light that Adam HaRishon watched from the end of the world to its end. It is the 5 times light that are said on the first day of the work of creation. For the righteous in that world, in the next world, since the light was concealed in Yesodot, which are Tzaddik, righteous, and Tzedek, justice, of Abba V'Ima, which is called the next world. Those Tzaddik and Tzedek are called those who fear you. Hence the power of concealment in them, and from them that light is received by the righteous. Made is the upper Garden of Eden, since prior to that it is written, which you have concealed. It means that the Mochin come in a garment of honor of Tzaddik and Tzedek, concealed, covered by those garments. And here it says made, which means an open act without the above mentioned cover. He brings evidence from the verse, the place which you have made for your dwelling, O Lord, meaning a complete and open act. The Zohar explains that made refers to the upper Garden of Eden, which is operated and is excluded from those previous mochin in the verse, which apply during all 6,000 years. And the meaning of the words, how great is your goodness, which you have concealed for those who fear you, is that they are the mochin of the entire 6,000 years. You have made all those through the great coupling of Atik Yomin. For those who take refuge in you, as these mochin elicit and operate the upper Garden of Eden, which where the complete righteous who take refuge in the Creator stay, like those souls of Benayahu ben Yehoyada, These are rewarded with receiving from the great coupling of Atik, assembled from all those mochin of the 6,000 years. Know that the resting place of the souls is called the Garden of Eden. There is the Garden of Eden of the earth, called the Lower Garden of Eden, regarded as Vak. Then there's the Upper Garden of Eden, Gar of the Garden of Eden. All the souls are present only in the Lower Garden of Eden. However, on beginnings of months and on Shabbat, they rise to the Upper Garden of Eden and then return to their place. However, there are a chosen few whose place is in the Upper Garden of Eden. Rabbi Shimon said about it, I've seen the elevated ones, that they are few.
Item 109. The lower Garden of Eden is where all the righteous stand, in a spirit that dresses in a garment of honor, in the same way and manner that it was in this world. This is the meaning of the words, before people, that is, in the same form of people in this world. They stand there, and they fly in the air from there, and rise to the seminary of the firmament in that Garden of Eden of above, where they fly and bathe in the dew of rivers of pure persimmon, and descend and stay below in the lower Garden of Eden. The primary difference between Ga and Zat in the Patzufim and Neshamot is that Ga can receive light of Chokhmah as it is. They have no need for Chokhmah to clothe in a garment of light of Chasadim for them. But the Patzufim of Vak, as well as the Neshamot that are born out of Zon, who is primarily Vak, can receive the light of Chokhmah only when it is clothed in light of Chasadim. The lower Garden of Eden, where all the righteous stand in the spirit that dresses in a garment of honor, in the same way and manner that they were in this world. As it is written, before people, since the Ruach of all the righteous in the lower Garden of Eden clothes in a garment of honor of light of Chasadim, like the souls of people in this world. Through this garment of honor, called Avir, they can rise to the upper Garden of Eden, receive light of Chokhmah from there, and subsequently return to their place in the lower Garden of Eden. They stand there means that their permanent place is primarily in the lower Garden of Eden, and fly in the air from there and rise to the seminary of the firmament in that Garden of Eden from above. Through this Abba Ve'ima, the light of Chasadim, they fly and rise to the upper Garden of Eden to receive Chokhmah. There they fly and bathe in the dew of rivers of pure persimmon, since the light of Chokhmah that they receive there in the Garden of Eden is called 13 rivers of pure persimmon. For the Chokhmah is called oil, and the number 13 points to the Chokhmah of the 32 paths. Afterwards, they come down and stay below, since they cannot remain there. Immediately after the reception of Chokhmah within their garment of honor, they come down from the upper Garden of Eden to their place, to the lower Garden of Eden. And since they should receive the Chokhmah within the clothing of Chasadim, like souls of people in this world, the text calls them before people as well, since they have the same form as people in this world, for they too need clothing of Chasadim like them.
110. ולפעמים הצדיקים האלו נראים נגד בני אדם.
110. Sometimes these righteous appeared to people, making miracles for them, like the upper angels, such as we saw now, the upper illumination. And we were not rewarded with observing and knowing the secrets of the wisdom further.
הכוונה על נשמות יחידי הסגולה, שבגן העדן העליון.
This refers to the souls of the chosen few in the upper Garden of Eden, although their merit is so high that even the souls in the lower Garden of Eden that rise to them on beginnings of months and on Sabbaths cannot remain there, but promptly descend to their places. Hence, sometimes they appear to people, descending from the upper Garden of Eden to this world, appearing to people like high angels that sometimes descend to this world. It is as he now saw the light of the upper illumination of Rav Hamnuna Saba, who descended to them from the height of his degree, from the upper Garden of Eden, and appeared to them in this world. The verse explains before people in two ways. One, referring to the souls in the lower Garden of Eden who have the form of people. He made for them the sublime lights in the upper Garden of Eden, so they could receive from there through ascending on beginnings of months and on Sabbaths. At that time they are rewarded with greeting the souls in the upper Garden of Eden and descend back to their places. 2. Before actual people in this world means that those souls in the upper Garden of Eden sometimes descend to this world like high angels and appear to the righteous. This is why it was said, we were not rewarded with observing and knowing the secrets of the wisdom further, complaining that he promptly disappeared from them. And since that time he has not been rewarded with attaining the secrets of the Torah thus far.
111.
פתח רבי אבא, ויאמר
Rabbi Abba started and said, and Manoach said to his wife, we will surely die, for we have seen God. Even though Manoach did not know what he was doing, as it is written, for Manoach did not know that he was the angel of the Lord. Nevertheless, because it is written, for man shall not see me and live, and we did see, hence we will surely die. And we saw and were rewarded with this light that was walking with us and still existed in the world, since the Creator sent it to us to inform us the secrets of the wisdom that it revealed. Happy are we. Explanation. When the angel of the Lord appeared to Manoach, his attainment of it was incomplete, since the angel did not wish to tell him his name. Yet he feared the verse, "For man shall not see me and live." But we were rewarded with the complete attainment, for we knew his name, Rav Hibnon Saba, and we live and exist in this world. From this, you understand that the meaning of receiving the degree of Rav Himnon Saba is as considered, "I pray you, show me your glory," which Moses asked of the Creator, of which the Creator told him, "You cannot see my face, for men shall not see me and live." It follows that their attainment is greater than Moses' attainment. We learn that no prophet such as Moses has risen, but a sage did rise. And also, a sage is preferable to a prophet. By that they were praising themselves, and we were rewarded with this light, of which it was written, "For men shall not see me and live," which was walking with us, and we are alive in this world. 112. They went and reached a mountain as the sun was setting, and the branches of the tree started to knock on each other and sing. As they were walking, they heard a loud voice saying, "Holy sons of God, you who are scattered among the living in this world, you, the lights of the members of the seminary, gather unto your places to play with your master in the Torah." They feared and remained standing still and sat. Explanation. They went and reached a certain mountain. It's the mountain of which King David said, "Who will rise on the mountain of the Lord? Who will ascend up the mountain of the Lord, and who will rise in his holy place?" When they climbed the mountain, the sun was setting, implying that their illuminations departed, and the branches of the tree were rattling against each other, which is the conversation of the trees, and they heard singing from them, as it is written, "And all the trees of the forest shall sing with joy." They heard a loud voice telling them to return to their place, to play with the Lord and His Torah, meaning to come down from the mountain. He calls them holy sons of God after their sublime degree. However, he hints to them that people in this world are not worthy of dwelling together with them. This is the meaning of his intimation to them: you who are scattered among the living in this world, that is, the people in this world are not worthy of them, for they would not be able to tolerate each other. This is why it was said that fear came over them. Yet they did not come down from the mountain, but rose, sat, and did not move from their place. 113. In the meantime, a voice came out as before and said, "Strong rocks, high hammers, behold the owner of the colors, who is embroidered in images, standing on a pillar. Come in and gather." At that time they heard the sound of the branches of the trees, loud and strong. They said, "The voice of the Lord breaks down the cedars." Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Abba bowed down, and a great fear fell upon them. They rose hastily and went away, and they heard nothing. they went out of the mountain and walked away. It was clarified earlier that this is why they could not drive the donkeys, meaning that they could no longer raise man, because Rav Himnon Saba has already finished his task to assist them. Hence, the power of his donkeys was cancelled too, and they could not use them anymore for raising man and being rewarded with a higher degree. Thus, Rabbi Elazar said above, we were not rewarded with observing and knowing the secrets of the Torah, of the wisdom, further. Should understand the attainment of the mochin and the cancellation of the strength for raising man. Once they had obtained the degree of Yechida, which is the revelation of the soul of Benayahu ben Yehoyada through Rav Himnon Saba, what occurred to them was, as was explained about the soul of Benayahu ben Yehoyada. This is because once the screen of Bon had been revoked from them, the screen of Sag has been revoked along with it. Thus they could no longer raise man and left the donkeys. It was explained that the entire cessation of illumination of the Guf of Adik was in order to impart them with the strength to sort out the screen of Sag for them once more, and then the Bon would return to being Sag. Then they will raise man anew, and will go once more from strength to strength. Also, since Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Abba left the donkeys and went thus far, all the adventures sufficed for them to sort out new strength for raising man and bringing the Bon back to being Sag. This is why it was said that a voice came out as before and said, strong rocks, high hammers. The voice was implying to them that they were strong rocks and high hammers, since they endured all the great trials thus far and withstood them as strong rocks. Also, they prevailed over all the obstacles until they smashed them as a great hammer that comes down from very high. By that they caused, behold, the owner of the colors embroidered in images standing on the pillar, since the Binah, which is called the owner of the colors, as she herself is colorless, but is all rachamim, mercy, but all the colors awaken and come out from her. And through their endurance as a mighty rock against all those trials, now the Binah has been embroidered with images anew. This is why he calls Binah the owner of the colors embroidered in images, since she received the power to be corrected with a screen on which new levels and degrees, called images, emerge, while she stands on the pillar, the throne. And now the Binah has been established in the throne as before. Hence it was said, come in and gather. It is time for you to enter into your place in holiness as before. At that time, they heard the sound of the branches of the trees, loud and strong. They said, the voice of the Lord breaks down the cedars. This means that along with the voice that told them that the screen of Binah and the throne has been established, they also heard a voice from the branches of the trees saying, "The voice of the Lord breaks down the cedars." This implies to them that all the cedars that were impediments on their way to holiness have been broken. They went out of the mountain because now they mustered the strength to come out of the mountain and make their walk in holiness as before. 114. When they arrived at the house of Rabbi Yossi, son of Rabbi Shimon, son of Lakunia, they saw Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai there and were glad. Rabbi Shimon was glad, and he told them, "You must have passed through a road of miracles and high tokens, for I have been sleeping now, and saw you and Rabbi Benayahu ben Yehoyada sending you 2 crowns through an old man to crown you. It must be that the Creator was on that way, for I see that your faces have changed." Rabbi Yossi said, "You said well that a sage is preferable to a prophet." Rabbi Elazar came and placed his head between the knees of his father, Rabbi Shimon, and told him the feat. This implies to 2 issues. 1. They have been rewarded once more with Mochin of Sag, the father-in-law of Rabbi Elazar, who is called Rabbi Yossi, son of Rabbi Shimon, son of Lakunia. 2. Now, the Sag connected with the Ab for them in a never-ending coupling. Since Rabbi Shimon, father of Rabbi Elazar, implies to Mochin of Ab. This is why it was said that when they arrived at the house of Rabbi Yossi, son of Rabbi Shimon, son of Lakunia, they saw Rabbi Shimon there, because now they've been rewarded with the great phase that their bond has become actual Sag again, forever, in a never-ending coupling with Ab as well. This is why he told them, "I saw you and Benayahu ben Yehoyada sending you 2 crowns through an old man." He hinted to them that Benayahu ben Yehoyada had sent them 2 crowns through Rav Himnona Saba. Mochin of Chaya, the phase of Benayahu ben Yehoyada himself, and 2, the new Mochin of Absag that they have now obtained, which are also extended by the power of Benayahu ben Yehoyada. In other words, he was implying and saying to them, this is the continuation of the trials and adventures that you had, and by which you were rewarded with the current degree. For it, too, is a direct extension of the great light of his soul. It therefore follows that Benayahu ben Yehoyada sent them 2 crowns through Rav Himnona Saba. This is why he told them it must be that the Creator was on that way, meaning that all those declines that occurred to you are not false, but the Creator himself was leading you to your current merit. For I see that your faces have changed. In addition to what you have attained, I see that your faces are extremely bright due to the road by which you went. If there were any flaws in it, you would certainly not be rewarded with an illuminating face the way I see you now. Rabbi Yossi said, you said well, that a sage is preferable to a prophet. They thought that this is why all those adventures happened to them, since they were conceited in their minds over Moses. For they thought about themselves, a sage is preferable to a prophet, since they said, and we saw and were rewarded with this light, which was going with us, and still we exist in a world. Rabbi Yossi comforted them about it. You said well, that a sage is preferable to a prophet. Your words are sincere.
115. Rabbi Shimon feared and cried. He said, O Lord, I have heard the report of you and I am afraid. Habakkuk said this verse when he saw his death and his revival by Elisha. He is called Habakkuk, as it is written, at this time next year you will embrace a son, since Habakkuk was the son of the Shunammite. And there were two embraces, one of his mother and one of Elisha, as it is written, and put his mouth on his mouth. We should seemingly ask, how is it possible that Prophet Elisha extended to the Shunammite a seed that is not of one who is sustainable? Prophet Elisha was greater than all the prophets, aside from Moses. He was rewarded with souls from the upper Garden of Eden, whose bon was already in complete purity and wholeness, as it is in the future. Hence, when he extended the son to her, he did not take the precaution of tying him to the male world, because he told her, you will embrace a son, and tied that embrace only to the side of Nukva. And since the Nukva, bon, is near the Klipot and Sitra Acha, the Sitra Acha clung to him and he died. It follows that the cause of death was the prophet's great sublimity, since his own bon was already cleaned of any grip of Sitra Acha and death. This is why the prophet was surprised, and the Lord concealed from me and did not tell me. In other words, he could not even contemplate that death would occur to him due to his connection only to the bon. Hence, he had to be revived and tied to the upper world at the revival of the dead. The actual newborn is the whiteness in it from Abba, Chokhmah, since the Chokhmah is called whiteness. As it is written, in wisdom you have made them all. However, it requires clothing of chasadim. Hence, Ima's redness is required, meaning the screen that extends chasadim to clothe the chokhmah. It is considered that through the embrace of the chasadim to chokhmah, the fetus extends and exists. This is why it was said that Habakkuk was the son of the Shunammite. That is the embrace of Chasadim in Chokhmah that was performed on the fetus was all from his mother, the Shunammite, meaning only from the side of Bon. But he had two embraces, one of his mother and one of Elisha, since when he revived him, he re-extended for him whiteness and redness. And it follows that Elisha made the second embrace for him. 116. Elisha carved in words on Habakkuk the carved name of 72 names. Each word consists of 3 letters, since the letters of the alphabet that his father carved in him at first had fled from him when he died. And now that Elisha embraced him, he carved in him all those letters in the 72 names. The engraved letters of these 72 names are Resh Yud Vav, 3 letters in each name. Since the letters from which the newborn was built are 216 letters, and they are illumination of Chokhmah that extends from Yirsut. This is why the newborn is considered to have 216 letters in it, which are Reya, sight, meaning the light of the eyes, Chokhmah. And upon the Gadlut, when receiving the clothing of Chasadim from the upper world, from Abba Ve'ima, and 216 letters clothe in them, he is called by the name 72 words, where each 3 letters connect into a single word, and they are 72 words. When he does not have Chasadim for clothing, but only from the lower world, it is regarded as 216 letters. When he obtains the male Ab, Chasadim from the upper world, all 3 letters conjoin into a single word, and 72 words are the name Ab.
וזה השם החקוק של אב שמות, שחקק אלישע.
This is the engraved name of 72 names that Elisha carved on Habakkuk in words. Since Elisha revived when Elisha revived the son of the Shunammite Habakkuk, he carved in him 72 words from 216 letters. He extended in him the Chasadim of a higher world called Male Ab, which arrange the 216 letters in a correction of lines of 3 letters in each word. When the letters clothe in them, it is the name Ab, complete Mochin of Chokhmah.
אבל מקודם לכן, בעת שלא היה לו
However, previously, while he had only Chasadim of Nukva, they still lacked the combination of 72 words. That is, there were no words in them, meaning kelim from clothing of Chokhmah. Rather, they are referred to only by the name 216 letters, because there is still a hold for the Sitra Acha in them. Hence, the Mochin of Chokhmah could not clothe there. And since the letters of the alphabet, which his father initially carved in him, the 216 letters that Habakkuk had from the time of his birth fled and departed him at the time of death. He had to extend new 216 letters and 72 names for him. This is why it was said that Elisha carved all those letters in Habakkuk's spirit to revive him with the letters of 72 names, since he had to carve new 216 letters in him to join 216 letters into 72 words through the upper chasadim, at which time they become 72 names.
117. וכל האותיות האלו
117. Elisha carved all those letters in Habakkuk's spirit to revive him with letters of the 72 names. He called him Habakkuk, which is a name that complements and implies to all the sides. It complements and implies to two embraces, and complements and implies to the 216 letters of the holy name, since Habakkuk is 216 in Gematria, from which the 72 names were formed. He revived and brought back his spirit with 72 names, and revived to existence his entire body with 216 letters. Hence he is called Habakkuk. It is so because Habakkuk indicates two chibukim, embraces, meaning it complements and implies to two embraces. Also, Habakkuk is 216 in Gematria, complementing and implying to the 216 letters, since Chokhmah is called 216 letters. However, an embrace is required, meaning clothing of chasadim. In the first embrace, which was from his mother's side, the Chokhmah still could not be revealed in 216 letters, since the Sitra Achra had a hold of the redness of his mother. However, now that Elisha extended an embrace for him from the chasadim of the upper world, from Abba Ve'ima, the letters joined into words, and Mochin of Chokhmah permanently clothed in him. Since there is no longer a hold for the Sitra Achra in the chasadim of the upper world. Also, the name Habakkuk points to two embraces, an embrace of Ima and another embrace from Elisha. He is completed from Chokhmah and from chasadim in complete perfection, since he complements and implies to two embraces, and complements and implies to 216 letters. Embraces are the chasadim of Abba Ve'ima, and 216 letters are the Chokhmah. This is why it was said that he revived and brought back his spirit with 72 words, and revived to existence his entire body with 216 letters. Since the words that were formed out of the 216 letters were made by the second embrace of Elisha.
חיבוקים הם המשכת החסדים מהעולם העליון.
Embraces are the chasadim from the upper world, In 216 letters, the Chokhmah
כמוכן דחוכמה משלימים את הגוף בכל השלמות הרצויה. אבל ריו האותיות
The mochin of Chokhmah complement the goof, the body, in all the needed perfection. However, the 216 letters that he had from his birth departed him upon death. Hence, why was Chavakuk named after two embraces? Did his mother's embrace not leave him upon death, and there was only Elisha's embrace in him? Indeed, Elisha did not extend anything new in him in his revival, except the embrace that he extended for him from Upper Ima, Sag, in whom there is the revival of the dead. Rather, the 216 letters, as well as the embrace from his mother, from Bon, were only revived. They are the same 216 letters and Bon from the time of his birth. For otherwise, he would have been a whole new soul, and you would not be able to attribute revival to him.
It follows that now he actually has two embraces, since the first embrace of his mother has been revived as well. But the Bon rose and clothed the Sag. And since the Bon is in the place of Sag, the Chasadim are regarded as being from the upper world, and there is no hold for the Sitra Achra in them, which is death. This is why Chavakuk is named after two embraces. 118. He said, Lord, I have heard the report of you and I am afraid. I heard what happened to me. I tasted from that world when he was dead, and before Elisha revived him. I am afraid. He began to ask for mercy for his soul and said, O Lord, the work that you have done for me for years will be his life. Anyone who connects to those early years, the Sfirot of Atik, life connects to him. As it is written, in the midst of the years make it known. Meaning, impart life upon that degree where there is no life, Malchut of Malchut. For make it known means bestow. His fear is from the past, since he already had been completed from all sides. And fear is impertinent in him now, except for the fear that he had at the time when he departed from the world. This is why he said, I heard what had happened to me. I tasted from that world, meaning after his demise, before Elisha revived him. From there he extends fear even now, to be a screen for him for raising man. This is why he began to ask for mercy for his soul. For by the force from the past, he began to raise man, meaning asked for mercy for himself. So is the screen in the future. Once the bone returns to being Sag, as it is written, death will be swallowed up forever. there will be no power that will make it possible to fear and to keep himself in purity and beware of any grip. At that time, all the fear will be from the past, since his reshimot, records, will remain in Bon even after he has become Sag. This is necessary, for there is no correction of the screen without fear. Rabbi Shimon told them this commentary on Chavakuk in that regard, to teach them that they too will receive fear from the same path of miracles and high tokens that they had traversed, like Chavakuk, who used this fear according to his degree. This is why he said, O Lord, your work, which you have done for me for years, will be his life, since he had two discernments of years, years before his death and years after his revival. In between them, he was deceased in the world of truth. He says about the time when he was in that world, which are between the two discernments of years, your work, which you have done for me, in them his life will be. In other words, by remembering the period of my death between the years, I connect to the life of the upper world in which Elisha revived me. I heard what had happened to me, that I tasted from that world, and I am afraid. Zat of Atik are called the early years in regard to Malchut of Adam Kadmon, clothing in them. They are earlier than the first restriction, like Ak, and they do not shine in the 6,000 years, but at the end of correction. Since during the 6,000 years, Zat of Atik illuminate in regard to the correction of the second restriction, in the small letter He of Hibaram. However, Chavakuk's death completely purified him, like the end of correction. Hence, he was rewarded with connecting to those early years of Atik through the embrace and the revival of the dead that he was granted by Elisha.
פועלך שעשית לי בקרב שנים, הטהרה והיראה שזכה בקרב שנים.
Your work, which you have done for me for years, is the purity and fear that he was awarded during the years of his death. They will be his life, since by that fear he will be rewarded with connecting to those early years of Atik. This life is eternal life. And anyone who connects to those early years, life connects to him forever. This is why it was written, in the midst of the years make it known, meaning bestow life upon that degree in which there is no life, since through the purity that he was granted by his death, Bon received his complete correction, having risen and becoming Sag upon his demise. And then he was in that degree in which there is no life at all, Malchut of Malchut, whom there is no coupling prior to the end of correction. Now she too receives her life. 119. Rabbi Shimon wept and said, I too was afraid of the Creator, of what I heard. He puts his hands on his head and said, but Rav Amnun Saba is the light of the Torah. You were granted seeing him face to face, and I was not. He bowed down and saw him uprooting mountains and lighting candles in the hall of the Messiah King. Rav Amnun Saba said to him, my Rav, in that world, you will be next to the heads of the seminaries before the Creator. From that day forth, he would call Rabbi Elazar his son, and Rabbi Abba Pniel. As it is written, for I have seen God face to face. He praised himself that he too was using that same fear of Prophet Habakkuk from what he had heard of the past. In the verse, I have heard the report of you and I am afraid. In the hall of the Messiah King, all the corrections that should be revealed at the end of correction, upon the arrival of the Messiah King, are already prepared and ready. Not a single detail is missing. And those souls in the hall of the Messiah King are all those who have already been rewarded with the end of correction from the root of their own soul. This is why he said that he saw him uprooting mountains and lighting candles in the hall of the Messiah King. Since Rav Amnun Saba is the doer of these corrections in the hall of the Messiah, he uproots the mountains of the Sitra Achra, which seem to the righteous as a high mountain. He lights candles and corrects the new screen of Sag for raising Man at the end of correction. Since the Man is called the light of fire, this is, as it is written, man's soul is the Lord's candle. Since the light of the sun indicates the descent of the mud, like the light of the sun that comes down to us from above downwards. Also, the light of fire is reflected light that rises from below upwards like a flame rising from the candle. These are the two corrections. One, to remove the Sitra Achra. Two, to raise and to light the candles in the hall of the Messiah King. They are in the hands of Rav Amnun Saba. Those complete righteous who need those two corrections are rewarded with them through the discovery of the soul of Rav Amnun Saba. He told him that he and his students, Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Abba, would also be rewarded with serving in the hall of the Messiah King after their demise. They would be there next to him and be heads of seminaries there before the Creator.